In 2002, Professor Elsa Ranzi, Federal University of Acre, and Professor Martti Parssinen, University of Helsinki, decided to form an international research team to study large geometric earthworks, called geoglyphs, at the Brazilian state of Acre in southwestern Amazonia. Soon it appeared that a pre-colonial civilization unknown to international scholars built their geometric ceremonial centers and sophisticated road systems. This civilization flourished in the rainforest 2,000 years ago. The discovery supported Professor William Bullies, Tulane University, theory of early human impacts on the current Amazonian tropical forest composition that radically altered the notion of the pristine Amazon rainforest. Now, the team published an article in Antiquity demonstrating that the earthwork-building civilization had a much longer human history behind it than was expected. The team members demonstrate that humans have regularly used fire to clear small open patches in the rainforest. These activities started quite soon after the last ice age ended, thousands of years before the first geoglyphs were constructed. Thanks to the charcoal the humans left in the Amazonian soil during the last 10,000 years, it was possible to measure systematically carbon-13 isotope values of many samples. By using these values taken from archaeologically dated charcoal, it was possible to estimate past vegetation and precipitation. The results published in Antiquity indicate that the forest main vegetation and precipitation have remained quite unchanged during the last 10,000 years until the 20th century. No evidence of drier periods or natural/artificial savanna formations were observed before the current colonization started to penetrate into the southwestern Amazonia from the turn of the 19th and 20th centuries onward. Hence, the authors argue that the theories of extensive savanna formations in the southwestern Amazonia during the current Holocene period are based on a false interpretation of the connection between charcoal accumulation and natural fires due to drier climatic periods. These interpretations have not taken into account the millennial human presence in Amazonia. Elsa Ranzi says that it is possible that opening patches were aimed to attract large mammals such as giant sloths and mastodons until the megafauna disappeared forever. In addition, ash and charcoal fertilized the soil, and open areas were prepared for the growing of palms, fruits, vegetables, and root plants useful for human subsistence. Martti Parssinen adds that it is probably not a coincidence that today southwestern Amazonia is considered one of the most important centers of domestication. Cassava, squash, chili pepper, and peach palm seem to have been domesticated there almost 10,000 years ago. In every case, domestication processes left important fingerprints on Amazonian forest composition. Therefore, there is no such thing as virgin rainforest. In general, the study shows that indigenous peoples of the Amazon have been able to use their environment in a sustainable manner. Parssinen says that there is no indication that large areas of Holocene forest would have been deforested before the second half of the 20th century. Deforestation is a current phenomenon. A team from the Museum of London Archaeology have excavated the largest Anglo-Saxon cemetery in Northamptonshire at Overstone Gate. Excavations were conducted over the course of 12 months, in preparation for the construction of a housing development. The team from Mola have exhumed 154 burials dating from the Anglo-Saxon period, AD 450 to 1066, containing grave goods that total around 3,000 excavated artifacts. Some of the discoveries include 150 brooches, 75 wrist clasps, 15 rings, thousands of beads, and 15 chatelaines, a decorative belt hook or clasp worn at the waist with a series of chains suspended from it. Various weapons have also been excavated, including 15 shield bosses, 40 knives, and 25 weapons, along with domestic objects such as bone combs and cosmetic kits. The team also revealed an adjacent Anglo-Saxon settlement that contained 22 core structures, with another 20 structures in scattered locations. Prehistoric evidence included 3 Bronze Age round barrows, 46 prehistoric burials, and 4 Bronze Age buildings. The Overstone Lees site contains by far the biggest Anglo-Saxon cemetery ever found in Northamptonshire. It is rare to find both an Anglo-Saxon settlement and a cemetery in a single excavation. The excavations will help us understand the way people lived in both the Anglo-Saxon period, around 1,500 years ago, as well as the Bronze Age, nearly 4,000 years ago. The human remains will tell us about diet, health and even the origins of the people themselves, whilst their buildings can teach us what their day-to-day lives were like, and how they utilized the local landscape in these two different periods. Researchers from Cornell University and the National Park Service have discovered the remnants of a wooden fort in Alaska, the Tlingit people's last physical bulwark against Russian colonization forces in 1804. The Tlingit built what they called Shiskano, the sapling fort, on a peninsula in modern-day Sitka, Alaska, where the mouth of Kasdahin, Indian River, meets Sitka Sound at the Sitka National Historical Park. The fort was the last physical barrier to fall before Russia's six-decade occupation of Alaska, which ended when the United States purchased Alaska in 1867 for $7 million. Thomas Urban, researcher at Cornell University, said, "The fort's definitive physical location had eluded investigators for a century. Previous archaeological digs had found some suggestive clues, but they never really found conclusive evidence that tied these clues together." The researchers discovered the site using geophysical imaging techniques and ground-penetrating radar, a non-intrusive method that uses radar pulses to image the subsurface. To find Shiskano, Urban created a grid to see if the electromagnetic induction methods could spot the potential outline of the fort, and then created a small grid for dragging the ground-penetrating radar. "We believe this survey has yielded the only convincing, multi-method evidence to date for the location of the sapling fort, which is a significant locus in New World colonial history and an important cultural symbol of Tlingit resistance to colonization," Urban said. In 1799, Russia sent a small army to take over Alaska in order to develop the fur trade, but the Tlingit successfully expelled them in 1802. Expecting the Russians to return, the Tlingit built a wooden fort over 2 years, the trapezoidal-shaped Shiskano. The Tlingit armed it with guns, cannons and gunpowder obtained from British-American traders. When the Russians returned in 1804, the Tlingit held them off for 5 days, but suffered a setback when a gunpowder supply being carried to the fort from storage across Sitka Sound blew up in a canoe. The Tlingit clans escaped Shiskano by night across Baranof Island, to Chautalay-Withakute-Now, Halibut Man Fort, and the Russians then established a trading post at what is now Sitka. A large-scale survey was necessary to convincingly rule out alternative locations for this historically and culturally significant structure, said co-author Brennan Carter of the National Park Service.
New type of luminescent rock discovered on shores of Michigan. Gem and mineral expert Eric Remenamaki made a life-changing discovery in June of last year. During a nighttime excursion along the shores of Lake Superior, he found rocks that glowed like lava. With the aid of a UV light, he sent the Uprlitz to Michigan Tech University, as well as University of Saskatchewan, where the rocks were confirmed to be a type of syenite that contain sodalite. Sodalite, usually found in Canada, is what is responsible for the glowing nature of rocks. Sodalite is usually blue, but the rocks in his discovery have been mostly composed of granite or basalt. Geologists have noted that while these stones have technically been discovered already, this is the first time anyone has had them officially tested and confirmed. He has turned his find into a solid business. The 43-year-old Brimley resident sells the stones he finds for over $30 a pound, in addition to giving tours of the area where the stones can be found. His social media pages are filled with tour photos and his group finds. The Uprlites were named by him after the region they were found in, the Michigan Upper Peninsula, which is colloquially called Upper. The presence of these stones in Michigan has put down in a glacial movement.